The laughter started before I even reached the table. I should have walked away the moment I heard it. Friday nights at Dawson's Grill were always loud, but tonight every conversation seemed to stop as I entered. My co-workers had insisted I come to the company's singles mixer. After months of saying no, I'd finally given in. "Trust us," my teammate Ryan had said with a grin. "We've found someone perfect for you." I believed him. That was my first mistake. As I approached the reserved table near the window, I noticed a woman sitting alone. She wore a simple blue dress, her hands resting protectively over a very obvious baby bump. Her eyes were fixed on the menu, pretending not to notice the whispers surrounding her. Then I heard someone behind me snicker. "Go on." "Your date's waiting?" A few phones were already pointed in our direction. It hit me instantly. This wasn't a blind date. It was entertainment. Someone thought it would be hilarious to pair the quiet office guy with a visibly pregnant stranger. I felt my face burn. For one split second I almost turned around, but then she looked up. Not embarrassed, not angry, just exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying more than a child, the kind that comes from carrying everyone else's judgment. I slowly pulled out the chair. "Hi," I said gently. "I'm Ethan." She blinked, surprised. I'm Lily." Silence. The room was waiting for the punchline. Instead, I smiled. "It's nice to meet you." Across the restaurant, the laughter faded. A waiter approached nervously. "Would you like to order?" Lily immediately reached for the cheapest item on the menu. "I'll just have the soup." I noticed her hesitation. "You don't have to limit yourself." She forced a smile. "I've learned not to expect much." Something in those words hit me harder than any joke ever could. We talked, really talked. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She wasn't asking anyone to rescue her. She told me she was a middle school music teacher. 6 months earlier, her fiancé had died in a construction accident while working overtime to save for their baby's future. Within weeks, she'd lost their apartment. Some friends disappeared. Others decided she was too much responsibility. Even relatives suggested giving the baby up. "So," she laughed softly, "apparently I'm everyone's cautionary tale." I stared into my untouched coffee. Meanwhile, I noticed my co-workers stealing glances from across the room, waiting, still hoping I'd get uncomfortable enough to leave. Instead, I asked Lily another question, then another. She spoke about music, about teaching children who couldn't afford instruments, about how her unborn daughter kicked every time classical piano played. For the first time that evening, she laughed, a genuine laugh, and suddenly every cruel joke in the restaurant seemed incredibly small. Then something unexpected happened. The manager hurried over. "Sir, I'm terribly sorry." "For what?" He leaned closer. "I've reviewed the security cameras." "Cameras?" He nodded. "The reservation wasn't made by you." "I know." "It was made by members of your office." He looked embarrassed. "They specifically requested this table because they wanted everyone to watch." My stomach tightened. "They also instructed the staff not to interfere because, and I quote," he swallowed, "the joke will be unforgettable." Lily quietly lowered her eyes. She had heard every word. The manager sighed. "I'm ashamed we didn't recognize what was happening." Before I could answer, another voice interrupted. "Excuse me." An older gentleman wearing an expensive suit had approached our table. I couldn't help overhearing. He turned toward Lily. "Were you once a teacher at Lincoln Middle School?" She looked confused. "Yes." His eyes softened. "My grandson couldn't speak in front of people because of severe anxiety." Lily gasped. "Oliver," he smiled, "you're the teacher who stayed after school every day for 6 months helping him." She nodded. He loved music. The man's voice cracked. You changed his life. The restaurant had gone completely silent. He continued, Today he's first chair violin at the State Youth Orchestra. Lily covered her mouth. I had no idea. The gentleman reached into his wallet and handed her a business card. My family owns the Harmony Arts Foundation. She stared at it. We've been searching for someone to lead our community music program. Her eyes filled with tears. It's a full-time position. He paused. Excellent salary, maternity leave, health insurance, and childcare assistance after your daughter is born. Lily couldn't speak. She simply cried. Around us, every phone that had been recording the prank slowly lowered. Nobody laughed anymore. Then the foundation director turned toward me. And, young man, thank you for treating another human being with dignity when everyone else chose cruelty. I shook my head. I didn't do anything special. He smiled. Exactly. That's what makes it special. Across the restaurant, Ryan and the others suddenly looked very uncomfortable. The manager walked directly to their table. I'm afraid we'll have to ask all of you to leave. What? Our restaurant doesn't tolerate harassment. But leave. One by one, they gathered their belongings under the silent gaze of everyone they had hoped would laugh. Nobody defended them. Nobody applauded them. For the first time all night, they understood what public embarrassment really felt like. Weeks later, the story spread throughout the company. Human Resources completed its investigation. Several employees received disciplinary action. 2 managers who had encouraged the prank were dismissed. The company introduced mandatory workplace respect training. Ryan tried apologizing more than once. I wished him well, but I never forgot what he had revealed about himself that night. As for Lily, she accepted the position at the Harmony Arts Foundation. 9 weeks later, she gave birth to a healthy little girl named Grace. The foundation transformed an old warehouse into a music academy for underprivileged children. Within 2 years, hundreds of students had enrolled. One Saturday afternoon, I visited the academy. Children filled every room with the sounds of violins, pianos, guitars, and laughter. Grace, now a toddler, waddled across the hallway holding a tiny toy violin nearly as big as she was. Lily smiled as she picked her up. You know, she said, I've always wondered why you stayed that night. I looked around at the children, whose lives had been changed because one person had chosen kindness over humiliation. Then I smiled, because someone else's cruelty should never decide who deserves respect. Sometimes the people who try hardest to humiliate others end up exposing only themselves. The prank everyone expected to be unforgettable became unforgettable for an entirely different reason. Not because of the joke, but because kindness refused to leave the table.